When someone avoids eye contact with you, it's an entamites renia, modern Stoic. The eyes are the window to the soul. Traditional proverb. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation when suddenly the person you're speaking to starts looking anywhere but at you? You can feel it, right? That uncomfortable pause, the unspoken tension, and something in your gut tells you that things aren't quite as they seem. Here's a truth I've discovered after years of observing human behavior and the nuances of nonverbal communication. When someone avoids eye contact, it's never purely accidental. There's always a deeper reason behind it, a hidden narrative. It could be guilt, perhaps even longing. Maybe they're concealing something, or they're simply overwhelmed by emotions they don't want to expose. In this video, I'll walk you through the emotional, psychological, and even romantic layers behind someone's reluctance to meet your gaze. Because once you learn to interpret what's behind those eyes, you'll begin to understand the unspoken words they're trying to convey. Section 1. Eye contact, a window to the soul. Eye contact is one of the most profound and powerful forms of human connection. It's more than just a quick glance or an accidental meeting of eyes. When you truly lock eyes with someone, something remarkable happens. It's as though the words and noise of the world fall away, and in that brief moment you feel an unspoken bond, a silent conversation unfolding. There's no mistaking the power of this simple yet deeply personal exchange. But there's a reason for it. Our brains are wired to respond to eye contact in ways that go far beyond the conscious. It's not just about looking at another person. Eye contact activates areas of our brain linked to emotion, empathy, and self-awareness. It taps into our deepest, most primal impulses, the desire to connect, to understand, and to be understood. In fact, research shows that even a fleeting few seconds of direct eye contact can trigger the activation of mirror neurons, the same part of the brain that allows us to resonate with others' emotions and even feel what they feel. This is why eye contact builds trust so quickly. It's not just a gesture. It's a signal that we are seen and heard. That's the magic behind the moment. But here's something many people overlook. When someone avoids making eye contact with you, they are still communicating, just in a different language. This is where the story gets more complicated and more interesting. When eyes shift away, it may seem like a form of rejection or disinterest, but in reality, it's often far more nuanced. Someone avoiding eye contact could be feeling discomfort, insecurity, or perhaps even fear. It's a way of hiding something, a vulnerability they don't want you to see. Perhaps it's too painful, too personal, or simply too raw to reveal. In other cases, it may reflect a deep emotional struggle, a desire not to let others in too far. There's a certain stoic beauty in the way people shield themselves from being completely seen. This is not necessarily a weakness, but rather a form of self-protection. Eye contact, just like any other form of communication, is never neutral. It either draws you closer or puts distance between you. And that distance, that's often where the hidden truths lie, the silent, unspoken parts of a person's experience that they're not ready to share. The modern Stoic understands this dynamic intuitively. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, to look deeper than the surface, and to appreciate the layers of complexity that exist in every interaction. The blessing of Stoicism lies in its ability to help us navigate these moments with understanding and patience, rather than frustration or confusion. The old Stoic knew that people are rarely as simple as they appear. Avoiding eye contact doesn't always mean rejection. It may be an indication of something far more profound, something that the other person isn't quite ready to confront or expose. This is where Stoic wisdom comes into play. Don't rush to conclusions. Don't be quick to label someone's actions. When you encounter someone avoiding your gaze, don't take it as a personal slight. Instead, approach it with curiosity, with the awareness that there might be something beneath the surface that you are not yet privy to. The modern Stoic recognizes that these small moments of silence, these subtle actions, are often the most meaningful. There's a deeper connection waiting to be made, but it requires patience and a keen sense of observation. Just as the old Stoics taught us to embrace the stillness and simplicity of life, so too should we learn to appreciate the unspoken moments in our relationships. Be mindful of how eye contact, or the lack thereof, can reveal as much as it hides. It's not just a matter of meeting eyes, it's about understanding what's happening when those eyes don't meet yours. When someone looks away, don't rush to judge them. Recognize that they are speaking in a language of their own, a language that may be shaped by their fears, their uncertainties, or their deepest desires. The modern Stoic knows that true wisdom is found in the willingness to understand, to seek meaning in the things left unsaid. Next time you find yourself in a situation where someone avoids eye contact, take a deep breath. Don't react immediately. Don't let your mind jump to conclusions. Instead, see it for what it is, a moment of vulnerability, a shield raised for protection, or perhaps a cry for deeper understanding. The beauty of Stoicism lies in the ability to remain calm, to stand firm in the face of uncertainty, and to understand that even silence has its story. By practicing these principles, you don't just become better at reading the room, you become a master at understanding the hidden truths behind people's actions. Eye contact may be the window to the soul, but what happens when the window is closed? The modern Stoic understands that the hidden depths are just as valuable as the visible ones. Never forget that the next time someone avoids your gaze, they're still talking to you. Just listen carefully. Section 2. 5 Deep Psychological Reasons. Someone avoids eye contact. Eye contact is a powerful thing. It can convey warmth, understanding, and connection, but it can also reveal hidden truths about a person. And when someone avoids looking into your eyes, it's not just a fleeting action, it speaks volumes. In fact, each time someone looks away from your gaze, it's a deep, silent story unfolding. If you're able to pay attention to those subtle signs, you'll start uncovering a whole new world of unspoken emotions. Today, let's dig into 5 profound psychological reasons why someone might avoid eye contact with you. And trust me, this goes far beyond the surface. Reason 1. They feel guilty about something. Guilt is a heavy burden, one that weighs on the heart like a stone in your chest. It doesn't matter how good a person may seem on the outside. If they carry guilt, they will struggle to meet your gaze. Here's the thing about eye contact. It's not just a simple exchange of looks. It's an invitation to vulnerability. When someone looks into your eyes, it's as if they're offering a window to their soul. And when they've done something wrong, they can't bear to let you see that darkness in them. Eye contact demands truth, and guilt is the one thing that thrives in the shadows. It forces them to confront not only you, but also their own conscience. Let's take a moment to understand this through the lens of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to embrace virtue and truth, no matter the cost. A true Stoic would never avoid eye contact because they understand that guilt is a failure to live in accordance with their values. They would look you in the eye with honesty, acknowledging their faults and striving for redemption. In contrast, someone avoiding eye contact may be operating out of fear or shame, avoiding the discomfort of confronting their own actions. Guilt hides in the shadows, but a Stoic would step into the light, confronting their mistakes with courage and integrity. Reason 2. They're attracted to you but nervous. It's a strange phenomenon, but it happens more often than you might think. Someone avoids eye contact not because they're indifferent, but because they care too much. Their attraction to you runs so deep that they fear you might see right through them. The thought of you looking into their eyes might unearth a flood of emotions they're not ready to face. In this case, avoiding eye contact is not an act of rejection. It's a defense mechanism against emotional exposure. Think about it. When you're truly infatuated with someone, there's a raw vulnerability in their gaze. They might be afraid that if you see too much, you'll read their emotions like an open book. The Stoic approach to this? Embrace the discomfort. A Stoic individual would recognize that emotional exposure is part of the human experience and might even find strength in it. Instead of avoiding eye contact, they would use it to foster deeper connection and understanding. The fear of exposure is real, but so is the potential for profound intimacy. Reason 3. They feel intimidated by you. This one hits close to home. Have you ever been in a room with someone who has a magnetic presence? Maybe it's their confidence, their accomplishments, or simply the way they carry themselves. And in that moment, you feel small, like a fish out of water. That's how some people feel in your presence, intimidated. But here's the twist. It's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of their own insecurities. For someone who feels emotionally inferior, making eye contact can feel like a challenge. It's like a silent contest of power, and they may not feel equipped to face it. So, they look away as a way of self-preservation. Your confidence may overwhelm them, and in the world of Stoicism, this is a clear case of emotional fragility. A Stoic would look at this situation differently. Instead of being intimidated, a Stoic would find peace in the knowledge that true strength lies in maintaining composure, regardless of who is in the room. Confidence isn't meant to dominate others, it's meant to remain steady, even when faced with those who feel small in comparison. Reason 4. They're hiding something. We've all got our secrets, and sometimes we guard them like a vault. This is different from guilt. When someone avoids eye contact in this context, it's not because they're feeling sorry for what they've done, it's because they're actively hiding something. They don't want you to see the truth, not because it's wrong, but because it's personal. Their inner world is their fortress, and they're not ready to let you in. In this case, eye contact becomes a psychological barrier, a shield they use to protect their emotions, intentions, or secrets. But let's be real. The Stoic approach would be radically different. A Stoic doesn't hide from the truth. They meet it head-on, even if it's uncomfortable. Secrets have a way of eating away at us, and a Stoic would rather be open and transparent than carry the weight of hidden truths. Avoiding eye contact in this case is a refusal to share, but the Stoic would choose to embrace vulnerability, knowing that truth is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. Reason 5. They're emotionally disconnected or overwhelmed. In today's world, we often forget that people can only handle so much. The pressures of life, work, relationships, trauma can pile up, and sometimes people just shut down. When someone becomes emotionally overwhelmed, eye contact can feel like a floodgate. The moment their gaze meets yours, they feel exposed, like their entire emotional state will spill out. It's not that they don't want to connect with you. They're simply unable to process their own emotions. This is where Stoic life offers an interesting perspective. A true Stoic understands the weight of emotional burdens and the importance of mental clarity. Instead of shutting down, a Stoic would take steps to manage their emotions, to face their struggles without becoming overwhelmed by them. The act of looking someone in the eye can be an act of strength, a declaration that despite feeling overwhelmed, you remain grounded. For someone who avoids eye contact due to emotional overload, they're not necessarily avoiding you, they're avoiding their own emotional chaos. In conclusion, what eye contact reveals about us. Every glance, or the avoidance of one, tells us something. Sometimes it's a reflection of guilt, attraction, insecurity, secrecy, or emotional distress. But don't take it personally. Often, when someone avoids eye contact, it's more about what's going on inside them than about you. If you can read these cues, you can understand the deeper layers of their psychology. But what does this mean for you? In the context of Stoicism, it's a reminder that we must constantly strive to understand not only others, but ourselves. A Stoic doesn't shy away from eye contact because they know that in the gaze of another, they might find truth, vulnerability, and connection. It's about embracing the moment with full awareness and not allowing fear or insecurity to dictate our actions. So next time someone avoids your gaze, take a moment to reflect on what might be going on inside them. And if you're the one avoiding eye contact, ask yourself why. Is it guilt, fear, discomfort? Whatever it is, face it head on and don't be afraid to embrace the Stoic life, where truth, vulnerability, and emotional clarity rule the day. If you understand the deeper meaning behind someone avoiding eye contact, drop a comment right now. I see through the silence. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, what's not said is often louder than words. Section 3. Don't jump to conclusions. Context is everything. Don't make assumptions. Don't rush to judgment. When someone avoids eye contact with you, it doesn't mean weakness, deceit, or guilt. It means context matters, and you must master the context. That's what modern Stoics do. A man grounded in Stoic principles doesn't react, he assesses, he observes, he understands before he responds. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone does wrong, it is because he is mistaken about what is good." The man who lowers his gaze may not be hiding anything. He may simply be wired differently. Introverts, those with social anxiety. People raised in cultures where direct eye contact is seen as disrespectful. Neurodivergent individuals, like those on the autism spectrum, may avoid eye contact because it causes them actual discomfort or distress. These aren't excuses. They are realities, and the modern Stoic doesn't fear reality, he embraces it. Let's be clear. You must train yourself to look beyond the surface. Real strength comes from restraint, from resisting the urge to jump to conclusions, from choosing patience over pride. When someone looks away, don't think you're being disrespected. Ask, what's really happening here? What's the environment? What's their story? Are they distracted, anxious, overwhelmed? Are they tired or simply lost in thought? A modern Stoic doesn't just see with his eyes, he sees with his mind. He sees the whole battlefield before he moves, because Stoic principles aren't just about looking calm, they're about being calm, being strategic, being in control. That is power. That is clarity. That is mastery. The world is full of noise. Learn to quiet it. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, Seneca warned us. And this is one of those moments. Don't let your imagination betray you. Don't invent stories based on a glance. Instead, ground yourself in reality. You're not just reacting, you're leading. Leading with calm, leading with vision, leading with depth. That's the way of a modern Stoic, and men who follow that path, who pause, analyze, and respond with discipline, become unshakable. The weak man interprets everything as a slight. The strong man sees the bigger picture. Be a strong man. Stand rooted in reason. Use eye contact as a clue, not a conclusion. Be curious, not confrontational. Be aware, not accusatory. You must combine observation with understanding. That's how you gain insight. That's how you develop wisdom. That's how you dominate uncertainty. So don't just see, perceive. Don't just react, reflect. This is your edge. This is how you rise. Context is everything. Understand it, and you control the conversation without saying a word. That's the mark of a seasoned warrior. That's the mark of a Stoic. That's the mark of a man who commands life on his own terms. Let's build that mindset. Let's stop jumping to conclusions. Let's start living with presence, awareness, and strength. Because when you master this, you don't just read people, you read the world. And the man who reads the world rules it. Section 4. How to respond. When someone avoids eye contact with you, your immediate reaction might be to feel rejected or suspicious. But before you jump to conclusions, remember this. Avoidance is rarely about you. It's a silent expression of something deeper, a window into their internal struggles, fears, or emotions they may not know how to articulate. So how should you respond to this? First, choose empathy over judgment. Eye contact avoidance isn't a personal slight. It's a reflection of their inner world, a struggle they may not have the words to express. Rather than assuming they're disengaged or dismissive, understand that this could be a battle they're silently fighting. In the realm of modern Stoic wisdom, we are reminded that people's actions are often driven by invisible forces, things like fear, vulnerability, or uncertainty, factors beyond our control. Don't take it as a slight. Recognize it as a sign of something deeper, a cry for understanding. Now, create a safe space. This is crucial. You must open your body language, soften your gaze, and show them that you're not a threat. You don't need to say a word. Your presence alone can make all the difference. When you create an environment of safety, you allow the other person to drop their defenses and open up at their own pace. In this moment, remember that you are providing the blessing of Stoicism, a quiet, calm space where judgment and pressure have no place. Next, be patient. This is key. Don't rush the process or pressure them to make eye contact. Let them set the pace, because sometimes the heart needs time to feel safe before the eyes can open. Eye contact is intimate, and sometimes the vulnerability it demands can be overwhelming. Give them the space to come to you in their own time. A patient approach conveys trust and respect, both of which are invaluable when building any connection. If this situation is romantic or emotional, you need to recognize that avoidance might be rooted in fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of opening up. But here's the thing, that avoidance is not necessarily a rejection. Often, it's the opposite. It's a complicated dance between attraction and fear. In these moments, your calm presence can be the bridge that leads them from distance to connection. You must be the rock in the storm, steady and unwavering, providing a sense of security that encourages them to open up. In the end, the best way to respond to someone who avoids eye contact is with kindness, patience, and understanding. Beneath that averted gaze is a person who wants to be seen, but in their own time and on their own terms. So, remember the wisdom of the old Stoic. Don't rush the process, don't force connection, but always show up with warmth and empathy. It's not about you. It's about their journey. That's the true blessing of Stoicism, approaching life with a calm heart, an understanding mind, no matter what challenges you face. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. Section 5. Eye contact avoidance as a sign of cognitive dissonance. When someone avoids eye contact with you, resist the temptation to immediately jump to conclusions or assume the worst. Often, this behavior is a sign of cognitive dissonance, an internal struggle where conflicting thoughts or beliefs cause psychological discomfort. Think of it as a battle within their mind, torn between two opposing forces. They may be saying one thing, but feeling something entirely different inside. In these moments, their brain is desperately trying to reconcile those contradictions. The act of avoiding eye contact is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid further amplifying the discomfort that comes with this inner turmoil. It's like their mind is screaming for resolution, but they're too trapped in the conflict to find peace. When you experience this, don't interpret it as a deliberate act of evasion or deceit. Instead, understand it as a silent, subconscious plea for release from the dissonance they're feeling. The person avoiding your gaze might be struggling with feelings of guilt or shame, perhaps over a decision they've made, or a situation in which they failed to be fully transparent with you. They're not necessarily hiding something malicious, but they are dealing with the complex tension between their words and their inner reality. This is where the power of Stoic philosophy can offer profound insights. As a Stoic, you must approach these moments with a calm and clear mind, not driven by impulse or emotional reaction. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." In other words, how you respond to these situations will determine how they affect your peace of mind. If you allow yourself to become agitated or judgmental, you're allowing your mind to be poisoned by those very thoughts. Instead, let the avoidance of eye contact become a reminder to practice Stoic principles such as patience, self-control, and empathy. Cognitive dissonance is not just a personal issue for the one avoiding eye contact, it's a universal human experience. We all encounter moments where we feel torn between different desires or beliefs, where our actions don't align with our deeper values. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, but that's where Stoicism provides its greatest strength. It teaches us how to face discomfort head-on, without letting it dictate our emotions or actions. In these situations, we must not only remain calm ourselves, but seek to understand the deeper layers of the behaviour in front of us. The person avoiding eye contact may be wrestling with feelings they are not ready or able to express, but that does not diminish their humanity. Instead of judging them for their actions, let your response reflect the wisdom of a Stoic. The Stoics didn't seek to avoid hardship or conflict. They embraced it as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. And that is exactly what eye contact avoidance in this context represents. An opportunity for growth, not only for the person struggling internally, but for you as well. The next time you encounter someone who refuses to make eye contact, resist the urge to interpret their behaviour as a personal slight. Don't view it as an affront to your authority or worth. Instead, understand that it's a sign of their internal conflict, a reflection of the discomfort they're experiencing in reconciling their thoughts and actions. There is no need for anger or frustration. You, as a Stoic, are above such emotional reactions. You know that true power lies in your ability to maintain control over your own emotions and responses. Stay centered. Stay calm. Remind yourself of the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It's in these moments that your strength, your Stoic resolve will be tested. And it is in these moments that you can truly show mastery over your emotions and actions. Remember, this moment, this brief interaction, is an opportunity for you to practice the Stoic virtues of understanding and self-discipline. Don't let this minor challenge throw you off course. Instead, use it to fortify your sense of inner peace. Know that the other person's struggle is not your responsibility to solve, but your response to it is within your control. Whether they are avoiding eye contact because they feel guilty, ashamed, or conflicted, your job is to rise above, to understand, and to remain steady in your own beliefs and actions. Avoiding eye contact is not a personal attack. It's a glimpse into the struggles that each of us faces. And, just like all struggles, it presents an opportunity for growth. Use this moment to become more attuned to the Stoic principles that guide you. Let it be a reminder that we are all, at times, caught in the chaos of conflicting thoughts and emotions. As Marcus Aurelius said, what we do now echoes in eternity. Your actions in these quiet moments of conflict are what define you as a Stoic. So master your response. Stay focused. And never forget that it is through these small moments of tension that your strength is forged. Bonus twist. Sometimes it's because they care too much. Here's a twist you may not see coming. Sometimes, when someone avoids eye contact with you, it's not because they're hiding something or they feel threatened. No, it's because they care too much. This may sound strange, but in the world of human relationships, especially those that are emotionally charged, things are not always as simple as they appear on the surface. It's easy to think that someone who avoids looking you in the eye is trying to distance themselves, pulling away from you. But in many cases, the exact opposite is true. They're actually trying to protect themselves from the very closeness they crave. Eye contact in these situations can feel like staring directly into a blinding light. Beautiful, yes, but so intense that it's almost too much to handle. Why is that? Well, think about it. When you lock eyes with someone, you're opening a window into your soul. It's like saying, "Here I am, completely vulnerable." And for some, that raw exposure feels terrifying. It's as if meeting your gaze could expose all their deepest, most delicate emotions. In that instant, their vulnerability is naked. They fear that by letting you see too much, they might lose control over their own emotions. It's a fear that the strength they've worked so hard to build, maybe over many years, could suddenly crack under the weight of that emotional exposure. So here's the paradox. When they turn their gaze away, it's not to shut you out, but to shield their fragile heart. The act of avoiding eye contact can be a form of self-preservation. They want to be close, maybe closer than you even know, but they're afraid that letting you in too far could change everything. Their heart wants you to see them, but their mind wants to protect them from what happens after that gaze is met. The Stoic lessons here are clear. The battle between raw, unchecked vulnerability and the protective walls we build is a delicate dance. It's about maintaining composure in a world that constantly demands emotional exposure. As Stoicism teaches, The strength of the mind often lies in its ability to control what is within, even when the emotions are raging. Don't mistake their avoidance for indifference. That's a dangerous assumption to make. In the realm of Stoic life, there's an important lesson about emotional restraint and the power of self-control. Being open to vulnerability takes great strength, but there's a thin line between openness and complete emotional surrender. So when they look away, it might just be a sign that they care more than words or actions can say. They may not have the courage to face their feelings head-on just yet. That's where the Stoic mindset comes into play. Rather than forcing someone to open up, take a step back. Recognize that their emotional reserve is a form of self-protection, not a rejection of you. This is a moment when understanding the principles of Stoicism can guide your actions. The Stoic life teaches that we must learn to observe without judgment, to understand that emotions, both ours and others, are not always the full story. You must be patient. You must not rush in and demand answers before the other person is ready. Let their emotions unfold at their own pace. That's the essence of emotional maturity. So the next time someone avoids your gaze, ask yourself, is this a wall or is it a shield? And remember, Stoicism doesn't only teach us how to deal with our own emotions, it also teaches us how to interpret the actions of others with patience and wisdom. Sometimes, avoiding eye contact isn't a sign of distance, it's a sign of care so deep that it's hard to face directly. The key here is understanding that you don't always need to understand everything immediately. Trust that, over time, emotions and connections will reveal themselves when the moment is right. And in that moment, you'll have the strength and the Stoic wisdom to handle it with grace and clarity. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. So remember, when someone avoids eye contact with you, it's never just random. It's a language your subconscious speaks, a message from the heart or mind that words alone can't express. Start paying attention to these silent signals. You'll discover truths people hide, fears they mask, and feelings they struggle to reveal. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden power of eye contact, drop a comment below. Share your own stories or questions, and don't forget to subscribe for more psychology insights that help you see the world in a whole new way. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, keep looking deeper.